Over-the-top 1980s violence, sweet cyborg action, social commentary, and a melting toxic man. I'd buy that for $1. That's right, dead or alive, you're coming with me on a video blast to the past to 1987's RoboCop. Released July 17th, 1987, the sci-fi action classic went on to spawn 2 sequels, a TV show, 2 cartoons, video games, comic books, a remake, a promo tour with Richard Nixon, and, almost, a reality TV style web series. Oh yeah, and eventually a statue in real-world Detroit. Made for a lean $13 million and grossing $53 million in the US, RoboCop was the first major Hollywood flick to be directed by Dutch director Paul Verhoeven, who would go on to direct Total Recall, Starship Troopers, and Basic Instinct. Paul also gave us the gift of the glittering cinematic masterpiece Showgirls. So, tip of the hat, Paul. But before the filming Dutchman became attached to the movie, it began as a concept by screenwriter Ed Neumeier, who was inspired by Blade Runner's story of a human cop hunting robots who looked human. So began his idea of a robot cop hunting bad guys, human bad guys, which then later meshed with Michael Miner's idea of a wounded human officer who becomes a cybernetic super cop. However, there is a lot more sci-fi DNA in RoboCop beyond Blade Runner. The Brit comic Judge Dredd also served as an inspiration, as did the Japanese cyborg superhero 8-Man, and the Metal Hero series Space Sheriff Gavin, who even looks a bit like Robo. Alex Murphy the RoboCop also owes a debt to the cybernetic space knight from the planet Galador, Rom, who was a star of his own Marvel comic series. In fact, Rom even gets a few comic book cameos in the movie, such as in the flashback with Murphy's son and in the convenience store robbery. Iron Man also gets selected in that scene as the comic of choice by the robber. RoboCop's 3 prime directives of
serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law,
echo author Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. Although, to sum those rules up for the kids watching at home,
stay out of trouble.
Meanwhile, James Cameron's The Terminator also made a mark on RoboCop, as that was also produced by Orion Pictures as a lower-budget quick cash-in on the blockbuster market. When Cameron's flick hit big, it provided a nice incentive to make this one. And side note, the original RoboCop trailer even used the Terminator theme music.
RoboCop, the future of law enforcement.
But it's not exactly like Hollywood directors were clamoring to make this film. In fact, it was passed over quite a bit before Verhoeven got his hands on it, and not even he initially wanted to make RoboCop. Verhoeven missed out on the social commentary about corporate greed and a media-obsessed society. Instead, he tossed that script in the trash, and it was his wife who convinced him to give it a closer read. And that closer read led to the director envisioning Robo as a future Jesus. Think of it. The gunshots to Murphy's hands and head evoke getting nailed to a cross with a crown of thorns. Also, Robo is resurrected as a savior, of sorts, who can walk on water. Granted, Jesus was not known to pack a modified Beretta 93R pistol with selectable fire mode, unless that was in the gospel according to Smith & Wesson.
Your move, creep.
As for the man in the Robo suit, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Rutger Hauer, both their names were passed around, but Buckaroo Banzai himself, Peter Weller, got the gig because he had a lean frame for the metal suit and could act pretty damn well with just his lips and chin. Speaking of that suit, as iconic as it was a pain in the Robo ass for Weller to shoot in. The actor had trained to perform snake-like movements in a padded suit, but when the real deal arrived, it threw everything off. The suit was too heavy and bulky, and Weller and Verhoeven shut filming down for 3 days to come up with a slower, more deliberate, and robotic movement. Plus, the shoot took place between August and October, with Dallas standing in for Detroit. So Weller was losing about 3 pounds in water weight every day he spent in the suit out in that heat. Also, the bulk of the suit made it so Weller could sometimes only wear segments of it. And, Weller recalled, the nightclub scene was precarious for him because he was top-heavy with the upper half of the suit and could not see walking down those steps. Even the cool but deceptively simple shot of Robo catching the car keys,
Thank you.
took all day to film because the keys would just bounce off of his foam rubber hands. But don't shed too many Robo tears for Weller. After all, he had a Walkman hooked up inside his helmet so he could listen to tunes during the drug bust action sequence. Besides, the suit designed by Rob Bottin, who was fresh off his work on John Carpenter's The Thing, remains a cool piece of sci-fi gear. 6 were made for the shoot and were the most expensive items on set, with a price tag of $1 million. He was also behind Emil the Goon's gooey transformation into a toxic offender, after being inspired by effect artist Rick Baker's work on The Incredible Melting Man. And the guts spewing across the windshield were several days of leftovers from craft services, gathered in a pot. Yum! And by the way, that scene creeped me the hell out as a kid. Still does, no lie. The effects wizardry on RoboCop extended to the ED-209 enforcement droid, which was a stop-motion model designed by Craig Davies and animated by Phil Tippett. You know, the same Phil Tippett who gave us the fish and piranhas, at Imperial Walkers, Tauntauns, and was the dinosaur supervisor in Jurassic Park. Speaking of dinosaurs, fun fact, the Chiodo brothers, the guys behind the Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Critters, and Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, they even lent a hand in RoboCop by animating the dinosaur in the 6000 SUX commercial. Along with that commercial, which was a jab at the Pontiac 6000, the news footage and media breaks fleshed out RoboCop's world and added to the commentary of an over-commercialized, corporate-run world. In fact, the catchphrase of Bixby Snyder, "I'd buy that for $1," from the comedy show In the Movie It's Not My Problem, is an homage to the 1951 sci-fi story The Marching Morons by Cyril M. Kornbluth, where a radio game show host in a dystopic future says, "I'd buy that for $0.25." Talk about inflation. But in addition to adding subtext to the film, the media breaks helped to lighten the graphic violence. And that was pretty important, since the movie was rated X by the MPAA 11 times for this very reason, before receiving an R rating. Other sly moves that make RoboCop smarter than you may remember includes casting Ronny Cox as a villain and CEO of Omni Consumer Products, when he had typically been known for nice guy roles. For Nancy Allen's Lewis, Verhoeven wanted to desexualize her by cutting her hair short and introducing the character via a fight with a man before her gender is even revealed. OCP executive Bob Morton, played by the late great character actor Miguel Ferrer, was initially supposed to be a total jerk, until the actor imbued him with a smarmy but likable charisma. And let's talk Kurtwood Smith's nasty villain, Clarence Boddicker. Verhoeven wanted Boddicker to conjure images of Nazi leader Heinrich Himmler, hence the rimless spectacles. On a lighter note, Kurtwood Smith also improvised a lot of lines, including,
"Can you fly, Bobby?"
which, when you think about it, sounds a lot like something Red Foreman would have said to his neighbor Bob on That 70s Show when he was really, really pissed. With the movie becoming a success upon release, a legacy started to gel, and even former President Richard Nixon caught the RoboCop fever. Trust me, it was a thing. He appeared alongside the character for home video release promotions. For the gig, Nixon was paid $25,000, which he donated to the American Boys Club. The movie went on to launch 2 sequels, including that Part 2, which was a really bad screenplay by comics legend Frank Miller. It also spawned a TV show, cartoons, video games, comics, and a remake that wasn't very good but still made a hell of a lot of money. And, in Alien vs. Predator fashion, the connection between RoboCop and Terminator led to a 1992 showdown between the characters in a Dark Horse comic, also written by, you guessed it, Frank Miller. And that spawned its own video game spin-off. And although Dallas stood in for Detroit, aside from stock footage, the city is itself a character in the film. And when Mayor Dave Bing launched a new Detroit initiative in 2011, fans took it as a rallying cry to call for a RoboCop statue to be erected. While Bing said no to Robo, a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter raised $67,000 to create a statue. And as of February 2017, that bronze statue is still coming together with plans to be about 13 feet tall as he watches silently, robotically, over Delta City. Oh, sorry, I guess that brings us to the end of our Robo look at 1987's RoboCop. Remember to observe our prime directive of providing comments below and checking out our other video retrospectives.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.